Yo, what is up, everybody, and welcome to my NBA mock draft. Right after the draft, well, a little bit after the draft lottery. Give myself a tiny bit of time to think about it. Not really, but who needs time to think when you can just purely react? Um, so this is the Spurs got the first overall pick, which okay. I didn't plan for this. I was hoping it would be Portland. I really wanted Wembanyama to go to Portland, but San Antonio. Honestly, I prefer that for him over a place like Charlotte. Even though they have LaMelo Ball, I just like the fit there in San Antonio. It might just be I don't want him in the East, but yeah. So Wembanyama goes first overall. Not too much debate there. Move on. This is where you'll get to see some conflicting views. Um, because Charlotte has a point guard, as the aforementioned LaMelo Ball. They have him. So you wouldn't draft a point guard, right? You draft a small forward. Well, no. I think Scoot's the next best player. I get ESPN disagrees. I don't know why. I don't know what they just must not have watched Scoot play. I guess. Yeah, no, I'm going with the talent. I'm going with Scoot Henderson here at number 2. I get the fit of Brandon Miller, but I think Scoot is better, just a better player um than Miller, and you can figure it out later. Next, with the third overall pick, the Portland Trailblazers. Again, this is pretty simple. At least to me, you're not going to take a point guard, right? You're not going to take you're not going to take a shooting. You could take a shooting guard if he was as talented as Brandon Miller, but he's not. Brandon Miller, though not on the same level as Scoot, is ahead of both the Thompson twins in my eyes. So Brandon Miller goes third to the Trailblazers. Then fourth to the Rockets is a little weird for me. I think the easy pick is Amen Thompson to get him a higher upside point guard. But there's just so many actual similarities between him and Kevin Porter Jr. that I don't really know how much of an improvement that would be. Yes, if he reaches his ceiling, it's a huge improvement, which is probably why this pick will be Amen Thompson. And then Jarris Walker and Taylor Hendricks, you already have your power forward in Jabari Smith Jr., and they're not talented. They're not high enough prospects for me to take them and make Jabari play the 3. So I am gonna go ahead and take Amen Thompson. Just I don't think there's too much. Like I think he's a bit more physical than Kevin Porter Jr. is, which is we'll see a big difference there. But outside of that, Kevin Porter Jr. is probably even a better shooter. But I do think you go Amen Thompson here. Upside is just way too high. But don't expect him to turn out similarly to. Don't be surprised if that happens. If he ends up being similar to Kevin Porter Jr. Next, the Detroit Pistons, they got. That sucks. As soon as I felt bad. I feel bad for all Detroit Piston fans. I was I didn't expect them to get I don't know if it's just you don't expect the worst team to get the first overall pick anymore. I didn't expect it, but I didn't expect them to fall this far. This is some 2K level BS. And really, you go talent. It's you go talent that's not your point guard or your shooting guard. You could even go point guard or shooting guard because Cade might get hurt not even halfway into the year. So you could go with Sarah Thompson. However, I think Jarris Walker is the best player available. Now, you do look into fits with Jalen Duren. And admittedly, I haven't watched too much Detroit Pistons basketball this year. So I don't know. I can't give you a perfect analysis of Jalen Duren's game. I know he's a dang good player. So, but I don't know how well they would fit next to each other. Which, again, talking about fits versus talent. So I am a little hesitant to draft Walker, but I think I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. I do believe he has a higher offensive potential than Duren does. Not that Duran's is bad or anything, but I do like Walker's offensive potential, and that gives you a pretty solid, maybe not the best defensive front court, but a promising one. As Walker's not the greatest defender, but Duran, it could be one of the better rim protectors here in the next couple years, with time to develop, of course. But moving on to the Magic, their front court, I feel like is pretty set. You're not going to find a center better than Wendell Carter Jr. In the draft at the moment. Now, when we get to free agency, actually, you probably still aren't really going to find one you should spend all that money on. But to me, the weakness is the guard room, because your small forward and power forward are set for a while in Franz Wagner and Paulo Banchero, whereas your guards just aren't there. So I'm going to go ahead and take Asar Thompson here, because he will be given time. Like playing time is like, I do believe most people in the Magic organization would much rather be playing Asar Thompson than Gary Harris. So I'm gonna go ahead, Asar Thompson, give him time to develop. He's a very good defender, one of the best guard defenders in this draft, best or second best even, between him and Kason Wallace. So I don't hate that pick for the Magic. He does need some time to develop, and he can't really shoot the ball too well. But Franz is pretty good, and we'll see what they get with their second pick in the first round. But the Indiana Pacers could go, like, if they were a little higher up, I could see them going any assortment of players to pair next to Tyrese Halliburton. I think at this point, though, the best player available in my eyes is Taylor Hendricks, and I think that fits. You get someone to fill in the 4 spot that's not Aaron Nesmith or Jalen Smith, and that's just an instant win if you ask me. So give me Taylor Hendricks to the Indiana Pacers at 7, and now potentially my favorite fit of the entire draft, and that's Kason Wallace to the Wizards. The point guard is a desperate need of the Wizards. I don't want Bradley Beal playing point guard. He could do, he could do it. I don't want that to have to be the case for Bradley Beal playing point guard. Especially, like, Kason Wallace might not be the best point guard this year. You might still have to start Monte Morris. But even then, I don't think it'll be for too long. I do like Kason Wallace here. Probably one of my favorite fits in the entire draft. Is Kason Wallace to the Washington Wizards. So I'm gonna go ahead and take that there. The Utah Jazz at pick number 9. I think they're in a place where you pick talent. The best player available, and that's Cam Whitmore. At least with the best projection. It's the best prospect available, and that's Cam Whitmore. He might be the best now, and he probably has one of the higher ceilings. So, okay, he may not be the best now. That's a little bit of a stretch. And you have 2 first-round picks where ideally their biggest need is probably a guard, or a power forward to kick Kelly Olynyk out of the starting rotation. But you can play Cam Whitmore and Lauri Markkanen eventually together, so Kelly Olynyk doesn't have to play. And you'll still, like, looking at, like, the 16th pick next, like, there's still a couple guards that could find their way there. So Cam Whitmore at 9 to the Jazz. Then with 10, the Mavericks, it's hard, and it will be hard up until draft day, or until some rumors or whatever come out, because all this team needs is a little bit of defense. You get them a tiny bit of defense, and they will succeed. That is with Kyrie Irving. If they don't have Kyrie Irving, this changes drastically. I was like, then you look at these guards, Anthony Black, Grady Dick, Nick Smith, all these guards right here, you take a look at them. You say, which you're going to look at them anyways, but with serious consideration. I don't think you really do. With Kyrie Irving, Luka Doncic, you do not need another point guard, especially with the defensive capabilities of these guys. I don't think their defense is going to change enough of what's going on in Dallas. So, if I'm the Mavericks, and if I'm looking for someone who can give me defense night in and night out, that is Derek Lively the second, or junior, whatever. He's the best rim protector in the draft by far. Second best center, or big man behind Wembanyama. And Taylor Hendricks and Jarris Walker, little undersized at 6'7", 6'9". But like center, you get what I mean. He's as a center, he's probably the second best prospect. And it gives them defense. You look at these other teams that have defensive anchors, like the late teens Utah Jazz got a 1 seed with Rudy Gobert as their center, right? Let's see who this year. Joel Embiid, when he tries, can be a great defensive center. Bam Adebayo has led defenses in Miami. Brook Lopez and Giannis. I was like, the big men. Yes, Giannis is a bit more offensively talented. But a lot of these top defenses do have a rim protecting center, and I don't know for sure if he'll be that right away. But that is what the Mavericks need if they bring back Kyrie Irving. If he's gone, then you probably look at like Nick Smith or Anthony Black to try and replace that a little bit. Probably Anthony Black, but as of right now, Kyrie Irving is on the team. So I'm gonna go ahead and take Derek Lively Jr. and it's a little different than I think most people would do. So give me Derek Lively at 10. The Magic at 11 took Ausar Thompson at the 6th pick. Now looking for a point guard, I think ideally with some perimeter shooting. Because the sword isn't there yet. Anthony Black doesn't necessarily have it. Grady Dick can, but he's not a point guard. So Nick Smith Jr. I know this isn't my exact rankings, but it's simple enough. Nick Smith Jr. I think provides the most potential as a perimeter scorer. And at 6'5", you're not really giving up any height at all. And it's a fun team in all honesty. It's 4 extremely talented young players that you'll get to see. Those guards have time to develop because Cole Anthony can start at either one of those positions. You don't need to start Nick Smith. You don't need to start Ausar Thompson, and probably Markelle Fultz will start as long as he's healthy to start the year. Will probably be the opening game starter. Sounded a bit too much like baseball there, but that team will become one of the most fun in the league later on. Now, the Oklahoma City Thunder are a little guard heavy. When your power forward is either Lou Dort or Jalen Williams, not necessarily the most important, but it is a little concerning. So looking at that, there's not really anyone. Like, unless you're going to reach on Noah Clowney or Leonard Miller, I don't recommend that. I would try and find a team that might need a point guard, like even the Raptors or Pelicans behind them, or someone a little further down, like if Houston wants to jump back up, and then take one of those power forwards. If you are set on a power forward, go for that. They shouldn't be. Just don't reach on a power forward here, especially when you have this talent at the top of the board. I don't know how long okay, he's here for 4 years, but to me, Lou Dort's the next one out of this guard rotation. The 4 players of Shea, Giddey, Dort, and Jalen Williams. He doesn't quite fit the rest of the talent. Yes, he had that great game in the bubble, but he doesn't quite. He's not as talented as the other 3 are. I'm gonna go ahead and go Grady Dick. He's a little bit more pro ready than Anthony Black. Not just in terms of the 3-point shooting, as that's what this team needs. Black probably will develop into a better player, just not what the Thunder need at this point. They don't need another ball dominant guard. So I think Dick can play a little bit better off the ball, and just fits a bit more with what the Thunder are doing. With that being said, though, Anthony Black is a beautiful fit, I think, for the Raptors. He just fit. Like, you look at the rest of it: 6'9", 6'7", 7'1", shoot, 6'9". I was like, you look at these guys who are going to start for him. He fits in perfectly. I was like, he's a pretty good defender. He's not bad. Can't shoot from nothing, but neither can the rest of the Raptors. So I'm gonna go ahead and Anthony Black to the Raptors right there. The Pelicans also do need a point guard. I don't like CJ McCollum starting at the 1. Can do it. I don't like it. Maybe start Brandon Ingram at the 1 or whatever. I mean, you can start him anywhere. Positions don't really matter anymore. Just as long as you have the prototypes for those players. And Brandon Ingram starting to become a bit more of a facilitator. So between, I think, Keontae George here. Gives you some more defense, more guard defensive talent, and gives you at least a more favorable replacement for CJ McCollum as opposed to Kira Jr. or Dyson Daniels. So I'm going to go Keontae George here to the Pelicans. The Atlanta Hawks, they are pretty set their starting guards, but I don't really know if too many of these guards are going to start right away or on any of these other teams behind them. So kind of not looking at starters anymore. Off the bench, where is he? Okay, apparently I'm either blind or he's just not. Okay, something not right there. But a nice score off the bench would be Jordan Hawkins. He's probably one of the best shooters in the draft, which again the bar is a little low. But between him and Wembanyama, I can't really. Actually, probably is Jordan Hawkins. But if they do end up trading John Collins, it would depend on what they got back. But you could look at a Noah Clowney or Leonard Miller here. I wouldn't be too mad at that. But I am going to go Jordan Hawkins off the bench. Kind of shore up the depth a little bit more. Because I was looking for Bogdanovich. I didn't see him there. I should be back on the team, but apparently not. Now with the Utah Jazz, Jalen Hood-Schifino, I feel like it's the easy pick here. Because Colin Sexton has no problem playing the shooting guard. He's even listed as a shooting guard here. And between 6'1", 6'5", I don't really see too much of a problem there. And you allow Jordan Clarkson to come off the bench where he was a couple years ago one of the best 6 men in the league. So give me Hood-Schifino here, and I do think he's the best player with the most upside at 16. At 17, the Lakers really just need anyone. They just need someone. They currently have 6 or 7 people under contract for next year. Maybe it's 8, whatever. So I'm gonna give them Dariq Whitehead because they need the depth, and a potential small forward replacement if Bronny doesn't get drafted to the Lakers, and he's gone. Then you have Dariq Whitehead coming off the bench, who's been there for a year. And he's my favorite prospect. Well, I like Leonard Miller a little bit better, but I think I have him ranked a bit higher than Jet Howard and Rupert Sensabaugh as well. So the best player available, and they just need bodies at this point because there is almost no one on under contract for next year. The Heat, I don't think they need too much guard depth. They have that in abundance. Now, if they were picked a little higher or a guard had fallen, then you have the conversation because Gabe Vincent isn't necessarily a championship caliber starting point guard. Maybe shooting guard or off the bench, but just not a starting point guard. There's just power forward replacing Kevin Love is a big one. I'm gonna go ahead and give him Leonard Miller, who defensively is absolutely amazing. He did struggle a little bit in the Wembanyama game defensively, but throughout the year has been a terrific defender. A little weaker scoring the ball, but I think that's okay as long as they get to the playoffs. Just give it to Jimmy and you'll be all right. The Golden State Warriors. I'm sure Warriors fans are going to say this team is going to stick together no matter what. They're not. There's just... Gosh dang it, I keep clicking. There's just too much money. Like, that's an insane amount of money between 5 guys. One of them doesn't even start. That's an insane amount of money. So something's got to give. Jordan Poole did not deserve that money. Yes, he had a fantastic finals run with them. but he's not that great. He's just not. Draymond Green is great, but he's old. So that's to me that's the replacement that needs to happen. It would be with Draymond Green, and I do think that the closest you can get is Noah Clowney. At least provide some backup, especially with Kuminga wanting out. Clowney can jump into that starting the starting backup, the backup power forward role in Golden State, and probably potentially a starting spot at that power forward position. The Rockets at 20 took Amen Thompson. Now, a small forward is probably their weakest spot. Starting Jae'Sean Tate is not a key to success. Jet Howard's probably the most offensively gifted here. But I'm going to go Maxwell Lewis just for the defensive potential. And he's not, in my opinion, not too far behind Jet Howard offensively. And I know you may through the 1 year we've seen of him is a fantastic defensive coach. So I'm gonna go ahead and give him the better defensive prospect out of the two, and to me that's Maxwell Lewis. But Jet Howard doesn't fall too much further. Again, the Nets are in a place where they just need talent. Jet Howard, and then at pick, especially with back-to-back picks, you can take a swing on one of them. Then again, taking a probably even bigger swing would be drafting Gregory Jackson here to play the power forward. I don't know for sure Cam Johnson's situation. I don't know if the Nets are planning to pay him. I would think so. But even then, he does. They do have some positional versatility. Gregory Jackson, the youngest player in this year's draft. I think the Nets are not going to be very good next year. Yes, they made the playoffs this year, but that was heavily carried by the Kevin Durant. So I think they will be close to the play, maybe just outside. Gregory Jackson kind of fits that. Give him time. He had a disappointing year at South Carolina, but the potential is absolutely still there. The Portland Trailblazers at 23 took Miller. Again, just need bodies. Their depth is not great, specifically in the front court side, because you do have Shaedon Sharpe coming off the bench. Cam Reddish isn't horrible as long as you bring him back. You kind of just need front court bodies, in all honesty. I think Chris Murray's probably my top prospect. Yeah, I know he's my top prospect available here in terms of especially for what the Trailblazers need. I'd be interested to see the trades they potentially make, because Yusuf Nurkic again is not a championship quality center. But I do think Chris Murray, he is a little hot, is a little cold, and bit too streaky at times, which is why he was not the 4th overall pick like his brother. But I do think he fits what the Trailblazers need in terms of depth. You kind of just get you can't throw out Nasir Little there. You just can't have Nasir Little and expect to be overly successful. So just getting Dame some players that can help instantly. Again, Chris Murray will have his games where he doesn't shoot very well, but I think coming off the bench as a 7th or 8th man is a fantastic spot for him. The Kings, again, this is gonna sound repetitive, but they need bodies. They don't have the talent that so many of these other teams have in terms of depth. Fox and Sabonis are great players. You'll need to pay Sabonis, so that takes up a lot of your money in free agency. They'll still have some to spend, but in terms of talent, there's not. Obviously, later in the draft, it's not going to be in as much abundance. But the two I'm specifically looking at, the three I'm specifically looking at are Colby Jones, Trace Jackson Davis, and Sidi Sissoko, and Bryson Zabazwell, the 4 players. I don't know how much depth at the guard position the Kings need. I don't know how much more. Because Monk will still be there. Herter will still be there. But I don't think you really turn down. Like, Colby Jones is a terrific player. Like, maybe not terrific, but he does a little bit of everything. He can shoot. maybe not perfectly all the time. He can drive, can play a bit of defense. Doesn't excel in all these jack of all trades kind of player. But I think that fits a championship contending team, like a team that wants to contend for championships. You get Colby Jones, and have him come off the bench. Maybe look to move someone like Herter if you can't bring Monk back. There, or if you need some front court depth, Jace Jackson Davis to me is the best big man available. I don't know if it's particularly close. And City Sissoko is a player I've absolutely fell in love with. I like a lot of these G League Ignite players. A lot of them are just so talented defensively, but I don't think he comes in yet. I'm gonna go Colby Jones. I love his fit with the Kings. Give them someone who can just do almost whatever you need him to do. Maybe not every single time, but a lot of the time he can get you 10 minutes in year one of very solid basketball. The Grizzlies are looking to replace Dylan Brooks, and you're not going to find that here at pick 25. And if you do, it is probably from the last couple years. Either you bring back Xavier Tillman, David Roddy, or Santi Aldama, even. But you're not going to be able to replace him here, especially with these players available, which is no disrespect. But a lot of these guys will need some time to develop until they do become, like, there's some couple like Sensabaugh, dyslexia kicking in. Koulibaly could develop into a starting small forward. I wouldn't be surprised. But the Grizzlies are kind of a little short on time. Well, maybe not necessarily, because they are a pretty young team, but they would like to compete now as long as John Morant can stay on the court. With that being said, they do need a couple extra shooters. There's just not this draft is not very shot heavy, which is weird considering how important the three is, that there's just not this many shooters that are not already in the NBA. But I am going to go with, I think the player counteracting everything I just said, the player, maybe it's just because he's overseas, who has some of the higher upside in Ryan Rupert to the Grizzlies there at 25. And they'll probably start Roddy, or even Brandon Clark might start at the small forward. I don't know for sure about that. But, yeah, I don't think you're going to get your starting small forward out of that pick. So go ahead and just take someone. If your starting point guard can't stay on the court, there you go. The Pacers at 26 took Taylor Hendricks at 7. Again, I'm just going for some talent, maybe a bit more defensive oriented. Because when you look at their guards and their bench, McConnell can get his steals, but maybe not the best on-ball defender. Like in terms of actually like locking down someone. Same with Benedict Mathurin, not the same, but not a great defender. So go ahead, and I mentioned him earlier, City Sissoko is a very good defender, very good guard defender, who has confidence in his offensive game. He's very confident, but it hasn't quite worked yet. But it will. I do believe he'll get there. He is one of my favorite players in the draft. But yeah, no, I do like a lot of teams need defensive minded players coming off the bench. And I do like City Sissoko for the Indiana Pacers, and I do believe they have a pick here in 2 picks. Make 2 picks, and then they'll be right back up. Where a couple of these other, specifically big men, might still be available to come off the bench instead of, again, Aaron Nesmith or Jalen Smith. The Hornets at 27 took Scoot number 2. Do also probably need a power forward. Because that would be the conversation with Brandon Miller. They do need a bit more height, especially if they don't bring back Washington or Bridges. I don't think Bridges will be back. Maybe Washington, but I doubt it. So in terms of their bigs are so bad. Where is he? Did I pass him? Yeah, no, Nick Richards. That's not it. I'm blanking on who they're. Either Nick Richards or Mark Williams. One of them. Gosh, I'm gonna look like a casual there. but I'm blanking on who it is. This actually is not a bad starting center for this team. Pretty good rim defender. Yeah, is it Mark? It's Mark Williams, right? Yeah, Mark Williams. Who's actually a pretty good rim defender. Nick Richards was the guy I liked and just didn't pan out. Okay, he's playing all right. I liked him, yeah, just didn't. But they don't have like their power forwards are just small forwards turned into power forwards in their system. So I'm gonna give him an actual power forward in Trace Jackson Davis at 29. Sure, you could say, oh, the talent up here. I don't think there's too much more talent than Trace Jackson Davis, especially offensively. I was like, Sensabaugh could shoot, but that's about it. The Hornets don't have a post player. Jackson Davis will be able to play in the post. They don't have, like, Mark Williams is not that big of a threat down there. So give me a post scorer in Trace Jackson Davis and a position need. He could actually start. Holy cow, their team is no depth on that team. I don't think he will start, but now the Jazz are back up. Took Cam Whitmore, Jalen Hood-Schifino. Again, I'm sticking with the theme. I do think the most talented player is Bryce Sensabaugh. Comes up at 28 there. Yeah, you took Cam Whitmore. So what? It's all right. Could have taken some height, but the only one I would have taken over him is Chase Jackson Davis over the height. Not a huge fan of James and Najee. Dylan Mitchell, not really. I'm not like the next guy I have is probably Adam Bona or Kobe Brown in terms of a power forward or center spot. So I'm not really too worried about it. Sensabaugh is the best player. Get him on that team. Now I just mentioned team with depth or not depth. Big man depth is needed. Bad. Kobe Buffkin you took a backup guard. You have T.J. McConnell. Not too worried. Yeah, no, I think if they believe, well, of course they believe they're going to be competitive right out the gates. Probably going to take a little bit of time, so I'm going to go ahead and go Adam Bona here. He's one of the best rim defenders, especially left in the draft, and gives you a backup center behind Miles Turner for as long as he's there, which is absolutely needed for the Pacers. And the Clippers with the 30th pick, their team is in terms of height and weight is literally copy and pasted. I was like, everyone from Paul George, like Norman Powell, a little shorter, but you get these long defensive 3-and-D wings. Their best point guard by position, their best playmaker is probably Bones Highland. I was like, or Paul George or Kawhi Leonard even is probably a better playmaker. I was like, you look at this team, like there's just Mason Plumlee might be their best point guard, but he's not even guaranteed to be on the team next year. It's like they don't have a starting point guard unless they bring Russ back, which probably is not going to happen just because they don't have the money for that. There's just no great playmakers here, and there is one here in Kobe Buffkin. I don't have him quite as highly rated as 21, but I do think he's the best player available, and I have him going here at 32. The Clippers. But here's a recap of the draft: Wemby, Scoot, and Brandon 1, 2, 3. I don't think that should really change. Wouldn't be surprised if they flipped Miller and Scoot, but whatever. Yeah, and Amen and Jarris round out the top 5. Taylor Hendricks, Kason Wallet. I love those fits there. The questionable one in Derek Lively. I do believe that's who the Dallas Mavericks need. He may not end up being a better player than a couple of these other guys, but as long as they have Kyrie Irving, that you need defense, and Derek Lively brings that without a doubt. And over on the right side, if you need to pause, go ahead. But if you made it this far, I'd be surprised anyways. If y'all enjoyed, please leave a like, subscribe. I'll see y'all later. Adios.